All right.
I have a
Last
question.
class we finished off with the laws with in chapter 80, halacha 14. And I just want to review some of those laws. We went through that that halacha a little quickly, so I want to go over some laws. It was talking about causing a solid to turn into liquid. That is forbidden in certain circumstances. It's forbidden to directly cause a solid to turn into liquid. So examples of this is you have ice. It's forbidden to crush ice or snow. Now, not only is it forbidden to crush with your hands ice or snow, but if you have ice or something congealed that's solid, it's forbidden to put it by, let's say, a heater or another warming element in order to cause the ice or the congealed fat to melt. That's forbidden because you're causing something that's solid to turn into liquid. Does anyone know Does anyone know what's the reason why this is forbidden?
Because then you're
Because
cooking.
Yeah, because you can get frostbite.
Yeah.
That is a good point. Also during the week, it would be a good thing not to. You should be careful not to keep.
That's a good thing to be careful of anytime.
What?
Yeah.
That's a good thing to be careful about anytime.
Right. So let's not talk about the case of crushing with your hands. Let's say you're wearing gloves or whatever it is. Why is it forbidden to put congealed fat near a warm element?
Because the temperature could raise and it would be considered cooking.
Okay, so good point. We're talking about, it's good you mentioned that point, but it would be forbidden even if it's not possible to reach a temperature of cooking. Just the mere fact of it changing from solid to liquid is a problem.
Well, if it's Shabbos, that would be considered work.
Well, so why is that? What type of work is that?
You're physically you're changing something physically, and
very good.
That requires work.
Very good. A change is what's forbidden on Shabbos. Even so, this sense that there's something changing.
To change the makeup of something.
You're changing its character.
Yeah. So this is actually only forbidden rabbinically, and it's since a new thing is being created that there didn't exist a liquid before. Now you caused a liquid to start existing. It's forbidden. The rabbis forbade this on Shabbos.
Rabbi, can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, I hear you, Moshe.
Yeah, it's what they call in physics, I believe it's called an exothermic reaction or an endothermic reaction, one or the other. I think it's an endothermic reaction where it melts, where it gives off energy, if I'm not mistaken. Might be exothermic. I'm not sure. I think I have to check.
There's a term.
One or the other.
The physics talks about it.
May I ask a question? I thought the point of all of these things we're not supposed to do is that we're not supposed to do what they were not allowed to do in the Beis Hamikdash. Now they don't have snow there. I mean,
They do. They get it once in a while.
So
they've had it this winter global warming.
But they have
that's a good point.
there.
It's a good point. This is something that wasn't done in the Mishkan, in the tabernacle, but the rabbis forbade it because they said it's similar to all the things that we're doing in the tabernacle. Although it wasn't done in the tabernacle, since it has that general theme of what type of things that were done in the tabernacle are forbidden to do on Shabbos. Therefore, the rabbis forbade causing a solid to melt. And as Moshe told us, there's a scientific term for it, which I already forgot.
Physics.
Physics. In physics, there's a term. So let's talk about some cases that's permissible. If you have a frozen bottle of milk, it's permissible to take it out of the freezer and let it melt by itself, just in the room temperature. Since you're not, it's melting by itself and you're not, nothing else is causing it to melt. Just the mere fact of being in the room is not called something else causing it to melt. If you want to put ice in your beverage, you have a glass of water or juice or whatever beverage, you're allowed to put ice in your drink. Although the ice is going to melt, it's fine. You're allowed to serve a bowl of ice. If you take out ice from the freezer and serve it, that is permissible. And if you have a bunch of pieces of ice that are stuck together, you're able to separate them. Since the ice isn't melting yet, it's just going to melt later. That's also permissible. So that's the finish off of last week's topic. Now we're going to learn a new topic.
I have a question.
Yeah, Will.
Going back to separating an object into two objects and only one of them is food, like was peeling an orange forbidden?
So peeling an orange, since that the orange is we're going to speak about it in today's class a little more. Since that it's for the only way you could eat the orange is through peeling it, it's permissible.
So why weren't nuts permissible?
So nuts, it's a problem of it's considered extracting. It's the prohibition of extracting. Peeling an orange is not considered extracting, because an orange, even on the peel, there's some parts that are edible to it. So it's considered one. So it's not considered a part of the food that's not edible.
But the shell of a hard-boiled egg, is it permissible to take that off so you could eat a hard-boiled egg?
Yes.
And why would that be? The shell is not edible.
That has on the shell a little bit. You could take off with the shell a little bit of the white part of the egg itself.
Wait, so if some of the egg sticks to the shell, that makes it permissible?
Yeah, that's what I believe so. That's how I understood
But you
it.
can't help it if you happen to have peeled it off perfectly.
If you peeled it off perfectly, so since it's
Yeah.
like I think it's still permissible. It's a good question, but I believe it's still permissible. I think
But
it's still,
we just don't know the reason why.
yeah. I think it's considered like part of the since it's what more. Yeah, I have to. It is permissible to the reason why it is permissible to peel a hard-boiled egg, but the reason why I'll try to figure out.
Okay. Okay. Well, see, I plunged the egg when making it before Shabbos. I plunged the egg into cold water, and that sudden temperature change makes the shell come off perfectly.
Very easily.
I almost never have white sticking to the shell.
Mhm.
It's not white, but there is a clear membrane that sticks to the shell.
Well, that goes away too. I don't eat that either.
No, it breaks. It breaks.
Okay, so now we're gonna.
Rabbi, you said that we could not peel an orange?
No, we could peel an orange since part of the peel has fruit on it. Is edible. I think that's the reasons. The difference between nuts and an orange. Will was asking, why is it forbidden to even nuts? let me go back a step. Even nuts, I don't know if they're, I think it's an extra stringency not to crack nuts in order that, because it's very possible that when you crack nuts, the pieces of the shells are going to mix into the nuts, and then there's going to be a problem of it's going to lead into a problem of very
Or
hard not to do the
of separation.
forbidden labor of selecting. Yeah, separation. So I think that's the reason why, according to the Alter Rebbe, it's forbidden to crack nuts on Shabbos.
And I guess you include sunflower seeds there too.
Yeah,
Pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds.
yeah. That's if you're gonna crack it, but if you just put it in your mouth, we'll learn about putting it, if you just put it in your mouth and spit it out, then it could be different.
Oh, that's the next halacha? Okay.
Not,
yeah.
not
Getting ahead of
next,
you.
but it's part of today's class.
Yeah, okay.
God willing, we'll get there. Okay, so now we're getting to a very important, we're gonna discuss one of the very important forbidden labors on Shabbos. As people already mentioned, it's the forbidden labor of selecting, which is called in Hebrew, borer. It's there's a lot of common scenarios that borer plays out, and it's important to know what's the method that you're able to do your task in a way that it's permissible and it's not going to be forbidden because of the forbidden labor of borer. So let's first speak about what is borer. Borer is selecting. In order for there to be a case of selecting, there has to be a mixture of two items. An item that one desires and an item that one doesn't desire. And when they're mixed together, then there's the case of borer. You have to, then there's the laws, then the laws of borer are relevant. What are the laws of borer? Borer is permissible with three conditions. Condition number one is that you have to select what you desire and not what isn't desired. Condition number two is that you have to take what you can only take what you desire when you're going to use it right away. For instance, if you're going to take, let's give the example of an orange, which was already mentioned. You're going to peel an orange, you can only peel an orange. Well, that's not the greatest example. Let's say, take a grape from a stem. You have grapes that are on the stem. The stem is not desired, and the grapes you desire to eat. So you can only take the grapes off the stem if you're going to eat right away the grapes. Well, eating right away, it means that it's in the near future. Different rabbis give different rulings. If it's a half hour of time, an hour, or if it's for a meal, then a half hour or an hour before the meal starts. That's according to the Alter Rebbe. There are different opinions, but let's just stick with the Alter Rebbe, because to not get too confusing with all the different opinions. The third condition is that you have to select with your hand, or it has to be with your hand and not with a tool that is used for selecting, or any type of vessel. For instance, you're not allowed to select with a sifter, a strainer, and even other utensils unless you're using the utensil for eating. So you got, for instance, if you're going to take, you're able to select with a ladle that you're going to take soup out of the pot, since you're going to use it for eating right away.
Rabbi Yossi?
Yeah,
Yeah, I usually see people using borer on a dish of nuts. They will pick a certain nut out of and maybe they want just almonds or just peanuts. So
right.
they'll pick those out and eat those. Is that okay?
If you're taking what you want to eat, it's okay.
Or if you eat it right away?
Yeah, and right away doesn't mean that exact minute, but in a close time period. Like I was saying,
Okay.
a half hour would be better, within a half hour, or at least within an hour.
Yeah, because I usually see people do that. So
Right. So, Will, with the case that you brought up, if there's there's a container of mixed nuts, you have to take the ones that you like. So if you want almonds, you can't take out the peanuts in order that you could get the almonds. In order that you'll separate almonds with peanuts. You have to, in order to separate the almonds from peanuts, take the ones that you like. So if you like almonds, you have to take the almonds. So those are the three conditions to be allowed to select, for the three conditions to make it permissible to select on Shabbos. Another point to mention, that the laws of borer are very different on Yontif. So if it's a holiday and the holiday didn't fall out on Shabbos, then the laws of borer are different, and it's permissible to select what's undesired if there's less undesired than what's desired. So if there's, let's say you have a bowl of cherries and a few of the cherries are spoiled. On Shabbos, you're not able to take out the spoiled cherries and just have in the bowl remaining cherries that are edible. On Shabbos, you have to take the edible cherries. However, on Yontif, if the majority of the cherries are edible, then you're able to select the spoiled cherries and take them out. So you should only have remaining edible cherries. That's specifically permitted on Yontif, on a holiday, and not on Shabbos. Now let's learn.
Wait, I have a question. What about if you have like part of a fruit, like a whole fruit, a pear or an apple that has
That has
is that different?
I heard you at the beginning, and then I stopped for some reason. I didn't hear you. So I
Oh.
heard that you
I didn't hear the rest
No,
either.
we didn't hear it.
It seemed like yeah. Could you repeat? Are you able
Sure,
to?
like, sometimes you have a fruit that has a really bad spot on it that's not edible. Either it's dried or it's rotten.
Right.
Can we remove that? Is that part of sorting, or is that another type of
Very
activity?
good. Very good. That is part of sorting.
Oh,
That is,
okay.
so you would not be, if you have a brown spot or something that's not on an apple or any fruit, you would not be able to remove that. Rather, you would have to take off cut the part of the apple or the pear that you want to eat and just leave the brown spot, the part that you don't want to eat.
So did you say if you have a bowl of good cherries and bad cherries, you can take out a good cherry even on Shabbos?
Yes.
So what was it that was different on Yontif?
On Yontif, you're able to take out the bad cherries if the bad cherries are the minority.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the difference of Shabbos and Yontif.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Yeah, so now we're going to learn this halach. We're up to, as I said before already, chapter 80, halacha 15. Simin Pei, halacha tesvav. What page is it on in the Maznayim? Let me check. It is page 84 in the Kitzer Shulchan Aruch, Maznayim Kitzer Shulchan Aruch. If you have the Maznayim Kitzer Shulchan Aruch. All right. If you have food that is mixed with waste or something, material that is undesired, it is permissible to select the food from the waste. But you can't select the waste from the food. So that's condition number one. You have to take food and not what's undesired. Now let's see condition number two. And also when you select the food, it is forbidden to select it through a utensil. Rather, you have to select it specifically with your hand. And as I mentioned, if you have on your, let's say you have on your plate there's some bones on your plate, you're able to use a fork to select the food from the bones. If you have, let's say, common is in soup, you could have bones in soup. So you're able to take with a spoon, eat your soup with a spoon, have your soup with a spoon, and it's not a problem of selecting when you're using a spoon. It's considered, since you're just using a spoon, so your hand doesn't get dirty. It's not that you're trying to select better by using the spoon. Now we're going to go to the third condition. And selecting is permissible specifically when it is you're selecting what is needed for eating now. Now, just important to note, if you're also able to select food from undesired items, even if you're not going to eat it, but other people are going to eat it. So you're preparing a Shabbos meal, and you're going to have guests. You're able to do the selecting prior to the meal, even though the selecting is for other people. And further, you're able to do selecting if there's a purpose for it. If you want to have put on the table food that is ready to be eaten, even if you know that the guests are going to decline your offer of eating, it's still permissible, since there's a purpose of it. There's a purpose that you want to have. You want to offer food to your guests. And now there's the case of selecting even when both items are food. However, one food you want now and one food you only want later in the day. So in such a case, So in such a case, when you have two items of food and one item you want to eat now and the other item you want to leave for later, you need to select. You have to be careful to select what that you want to eat now. And you can't select what that you want to eat later in the day. Because what that you want to eat now is considered the desired item, and what they want to eat later is considered undesired in the laws of selecting. So even to now this is connected to Will's question with taking off a shell of an egg or oranges. So now we're going to address it right now. So even to peel a garlic or an onion, it's forbidden if you're going to leave it for later. However, if you're going to peel it to have it now, it's permissible.
Aha, that answers my question from before. I only peel them when I'm going to eat them.
Right. A lot of the laws that we learn, if it's for the sake of eating, it's not considered a forbidden labor. It's not considered a forbidden labor. It's permissible to do. Meaning, what does it mean the sake of eating? What do I mean by for the sake of eating? It's part of you eating it. It's not a work that it's done prior to eating it. But whatever, that it's a little more complex, that idea. So don't take the idea and apply it to every case. It's a more complex idea. You're not able to peel only what that is necessary to eat right away. You have the outer shell, the outer peel of a garlic that surround the cloth of the garlic, that surrounds all the parts of the garlic. It is forbidden to. There are those that forbade it to remove it, the outer peel of the cloth, even when you're peeling it for eating right away, because this is extracting, which is under the category of the forbidden labor of threshing. Just like threshing is, you're taking, you're removing an undesired, you're taking a undesired part that's surrounding the kernel. So to here, you're taking the peel that's surrounding the kernel. Sorry, you're taking the peel that's surrounding the garlic, the whole clove of garlic, and that is considered under the forbidden labor of threshing.
Yeah, see, I'm sorry, I don't understand why that's different from removing a nut from its shell. But you told us removing a nut from the shell is permissible on Shabbat. You're going to eat the nut and then discard the shell. The same thing is true of the garlic.
Good
I thought
point.
you said you could not do that.
Good point. So
Did I misunderstand you on the nut?
The nut, it's difficult. I'm still, yeah. Very good point. I have to look into it. It's the nut. I'm saying it could be that the nut's not considered.
You're not going to eat the garlic as it is.
I have
They eat
to-
the nut as it is.
Thomas, I have to look into it more. I'm not sure the reason for it.
Okay, thank you.
So this is the first halacha about selecting. Now we're going to learn that selecting doesn't only apply to food items. But before we go to the next, rather it also applies to other items that aren't food. But before we go to learn that, I want to mention some practical cases of selecting in regards to food items. So we mentioned in this halacha, in halacha 15, that it's forbidden to select even if both items are food, which is very common on Shabbos. Let's say you desire one food. There's different foods are mixed together, and you desire one food over the other. You have a bowl of cholent. You have a pot of cholent.
I have somebody who'll take out all the meat and leave the rest.
So, right, very good, Thomas. Sometimes people are looking to get the meat.
Yeah,
Very common.
we know someone like that in our shul.
So,
She'll stand there and pick out all the meat and leave the rest for everybody else.
so is it permissible to take out the meat? Though what's the permissible manner? Oh, it's only permissible to take the meat, but not to pick up, let's say, take with the ladle meat and beans, barley, potatoes, and put everything, and then you use and then pour it back in and let only the meat remain on the ladle on this. That will be forbidden because you're removing all the things that you don't desire. All the food that's not the meat. If you desire to have the meat, when you're pouring back into the cholent pot the potatoes and beans, you're selecting the undesired item from the desired item, which is forbidden.
So you're telling me the next time I see her do that on Shabbos, I should tell her it came out of a pot, you put it in your plate and go away. You can't put back what you don't want from the ladle.
So a way that you could do it that's permissible is you could take just the meat out of the pot.
Then she should have a pair of tongs to do that, so she can
Or-
select the meat.
Or you could decide to take meat and other things as well.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm just being hard to get along with because of this particular person.
All right, let's talk about another. So that's one case. Another case is, let's say you have a salad and you don't like one of the vegetables or fruit in the salad. Are you allowed to take, let's say it's onions. Are you allowed to take the onions off your plate and move it to the side of your plate? Out of the salad and move it to the side of your plate. So that would be forbidden because you're selecting what for you is undesired. So by a salad, you should just eat the part of the salad you like and leave over the onion.
Really?
That's
Just eat what you want, leave what you don't
Maybe
want.
take some Tylenol. I don't know if that.
so that's not, and there's a lot of cases we can't go through. It would be very lengthy to go through all the last cases, but follow this idea of the food that you desire is what's permitted to take, and the food that you don't desire, or even if you desire that food but you only desire to eat it later, it will be forbidden to take that food. Rather, you have to take specifically the food that you desire and leave over the food that you don't desire. Yeah. A couple other cases I'll mention are a strawberry. The stem of the straw, you have to make sure to eat the strawberry and not pick off first the stem. Let's go to halacha 16, which I said is going to speak about the laws of Borer when they're not by non-food items. Afilu b'midi dela bar achila shayach iser breda. Even by items that aren't, even by objects that aren't food, there could be the case of selecting. For example, utensils and similar things. For example, silverware. If you have silver all in one compartment, you have to select the silverware which you want to use. And you have to select the silverware near the time that you want to use the silverware. So if you want to set up your Shabbos table and the silverware and the spoons, forks, and knives are all in one compartment, you would have to set up close to the Shabbos meal. So there is, a lot of people have different compartments for spoons, forks, knives, in order that you don't get into in order that you never have to worry about setting the table near the Shabbos meal or before Shabbos. So that's one case where it's relevant to laws of selecting by non-food items. Another case is clothing. If you're not allowed to, go to your closet and select your outfit Friday night for Shabbos day, since it's not near the time that you're going to wear it for Shabbos morning. Rather, you could either select it before Shabbos or wait till Shabbos morning to take your outfit, whether it's your shirt, your suit, your dress, out of the closet, or any other cases. You have a bunch of socks that are together. You can only take out a pair of socks from that's amongst that's in the drawer with many other pairs of socks, if it's near the time that you're going to get dressed. Or you have another example with clothing, as you have clothing in the laundry basket. You didn't fold your clothing yet. You didn't put it back in your drawer. So in such a case, you would only be able to take it near the time that you're going to put it on. If it's necessary to move things around in order to find let's say the pair of socks in the laundry in the laundry basket, it's permissible to do so, because that's the only way that you're able to get it. If the only way for you to get it is by taking other clothing out of the laundry basket, it's permissible.
Yeah,
And that also applies to food. If the only way that you could eat it'll be the same idea. If the only way you could get it is by moving things out of the way, then it's permissible, and it's done and you're going to use it right away. Let's continue inside this halacha. The what that you desire to use now is considered food, and the remainder is considered undesired. Halacha 17. In halacha 17, we'll speak about the laws of selecting when there's food that is in liquid or other items that are in liquid, and you want it and strain it. Are you allowed to strain the liquid? Ein lasanin shum mashka ki yesh bazeh kama chalukei dinim. You're not allowed to strain liquid because there are many different there are many difficulties in doing so. There are many different laws about it. Aber mutter lishtais al yedei mapa. But you're allowed to drink through a cloth, meaning that you're drinking out of a cup and you put a cloth on top of over the cup, that the liquid is going to pass through the cloth and cause let's say the sediments that are in the drink the dregs of the sediments to not go in your mouth but remain behind the cloth. Because Beir doesn't apply, or selecting doesn't apply because selecting only applies when you're fixing something before eating or drinking. But in this manner, all what you're doing is preventing the waste from entering your mouth. You're not enhancing the food or drink before you eat. Rather, you're just causing the food to go into your mouth and nothing else to come into your mouth. It's you're doing something while you're eating or drinking, and not before you're eating or drinking. Nevertheless, to drink water through a cloth, some say it's forbidden not because of selecting, but because of laundering. You're not allowed to launder an item, launder a piece of clothing, a material. And by pouring water on, which water is a liquid that's going to clean clothing, it's forbidden. So it's forbidden to use this cloth, cause this cloth to get wet, which would cause the cloth to be considered laundered. You could be lenient at a time of need, in a pressing situation, that you don't have any clean water to drink. Since not everyone agrees that this is considered laundering, so it's permissible in a time of need. However, you shouldn't drink and using your sleeve. I know anyways that one would probably not do so. Using your sleeve to strain the drink, to cause only the liquid to come into your mouth and not the sediments. Because if your sleeve is going to get soaking wet, there's the concern that you might come to squeeze to squeeze your sleeve, which is forbidden on Shabbos. It's forbidden to wring out any clothing or any material. So here you have there's some practical cases in this halacha.
Yeah, see, I'm sorry, I have another concern with using your sleeve to as the strainer for what's going through. That sleeve has been through everything else in the city, and it's not sanitary. And I'd be worried about getting an infection by using your sleeve to filter out things that you don't want from your beverage.
True, I agree. It could be that this halacha is also saying a sleeve that you're not wearing. Let's say you're a shirt that just came out of the laundry. and you want to just use it, you feel that's what you have, that's what's available to use. But so if for some reason you feel comfortable using it, which I would feel hard to find, it's still forbidden because of the concern of wringing out a garment, the concern of wringing out a garment.
So you could use a cloth to drink. You could drink through a cloth if the cloth is not something that you'd ever want to wring out.
Yeah, what we say is a cloth is usually, we're not so concerned that you're going to want to wring it out.
And you can put it in the laundry basket to take care of next
Yeah.
time.
So regarding straining, there's some cases I want to bring to your guys' attention. Yeah, Andrea.
Would you consider a piece of cheesecloth, for instance, which, people do use for separating at different times and cooking, okay, as opposed to, let's say, a sleeve of a shirt?
What's a cheesecloth?
It's a loose woven piece of cotton, usually. It's called cheesecloth. They use it to make cheese, when you're separating out the liquid from the solid. They would wrap the solid in the cheesecloth and, get the liquid out, and the solid eventually would congeal to a cheese. But the cloth is known as cheesecloth, which has that ability to, to separate. I mean, I don't see myself doing this, but I'm just wondering if, as opposed to a piece of clothing, whether, it's the sleeve of a garment or a t-shirt or something or other, I mean, that seems to be more practical than something you would have worn at some point in time. 100%. I still don't understand why, what would you, need to keep the dregs out? I mean, if you made a cup of tea, the tea bag, serves the purpose. But then there's, little tea balls that are stainless steel, whether it's a little ball or a teaspoon that has holes in it, that you would put the loose tea in that and stick that, in, and that keeps it separate. I mean, today we have, other ways to accomplish the same thing than thinking you have to put a piece of cloth over your cup to keep the only thing I can think of is tea, or, well, coffee. We use a French press, which is, you have your grounds and then you put the water in. It has a little strainer on the top. Eventually you'll plunge it, and that keeps the grounds down, and you pour off the liquid. I mean, I'm trying to think of.
I would think, that's probably what someone would use nowadays, like you're saying, by the French
press. It's called
French press.
Press. But, obviously there's those cola cups. Those things are relatively new. When I was a kid, we used to percolate the coffee. Now there are other ways to make coffee. They even have, tea bags, but they're filled with coffee. You could do it that way too, as opposed to instant coffee, if, that's another way. But, practically, I sometimes, am wondering, I mean, I get nuts and, vegetables and fruits and whatever, but, I'm trying to figure out when it would be applicable in this day.
Right. So the laws of straining, I'll tell you some practical cases.
Okay.
If you want to serve olives, and you have a can of olives, or you have a bottle of olives, and you don't want all the juice that's in the all the liquid that's in the olive bottle to go into your bowl. So all you're allowed to pour, to have let's say a French press, any type of, use a spoon that could cause all the liquid to come out, and then and then you'll just have remaining in the can, in the bottle, will just be olives. And then you'll put in a different bowl the olives without any liquid. So that would be forbidden, because you're taking out what you don't desire. You don't want the liquid that's in the bottle of olives. So that's forbidden to do on Shabbos. Or likewise, you have a can of corn or chickpeas to strain out the water, the liquid that's in the can is forbidden to do on Shabbos. That's some practical cases of that's forbidden to strain on Shabbos.
So even with a spoon, you couldn't, for instance, if you took the olives and you put it into a bowl and then you just took your spoon that you might eat the olive with and pulled out the olive?
So the way that you could do it is you could take the olives out one by one. You could take the olives out with a spoon, and then you're only taking out the food and you're leaving the what's undesired. Or what you could do is, if it's hard to take out, do that in the bottle that the olives are in. You could pour the entire bottle with the liquid into a big bowl, and then take out just the olives.
Okay.
Or if you want to do that, let's say with pickles, you want to do this. You want to serve pickles, but not all the liquid that's in the pickles. Pour it all into a big bowl, and then take out the pickles and put it into a different bowl.
Okay. Cool. That works.
So if you do that with a can of corn, and you got this mush of corn and water in a large bowl, and you start taking out the corn that is not straining,
You take out the corn. You might be left with some water, but you might be able to get to when you take out. You'll try to take out just the.
you try to take out just the corn with a spoon. So you kind of have to angle the spoon to let the water run to the side of it.
This is a good. Trying to think this over. If you're
I
taking
think
out,
olives would have the same problem.
taking out the corn, then there's going to be the problem. So you're saying if you're just going, you might still have the liquid with you.
Well, that would be like ladling. I didn't think of that, but is that okay? Cover that also. If you
You're not allowed to
ladle
use a
out
ladle that has holes to cause it to get strained.
you can't do that.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
also
No,
forbidden.
you have to pick with your hands. Pick the
So you
corn
can't,
out
okay,
with
you
your
can't use
hands.
a ladle with holes. But
I would say with olives, it's a little easier to do it. With corn, it's a little harder. I don't know. Corn, it would be a little harder. Like I see it more practical with olives being more, if you pour all the olives into a different bowl with the liquid to just take out the olives, it should be, you'll have much less liquid. Especially if you do it with, if you put on a glove and do it with your hands, let's say.
But with corn, you have
Rabbi?
to let the water, you have to actually see the water running away. I mean, that's what happens when you're pulling out corn.
Mm-hmm.
Rabbi,
Yeah.
I'm reminded of a question I neglected to ask, and I'm sorry I didn't ask it, but it's been bothering me actually. With our discussion at the prior shiur of the Kli Shlishi.
Could we wait till the end of the class? I'll answer it in 5 minutes. Well,
I'm sorry.
Rabbi
wait
Yossi,
wait 5 minutes. I just want to finish this topic, and then at the end of the class, you could ask
Okay.
the question.
Okay.
Another case of straining that it's important to know about is if you have soup, to take soup out with a ladle, and you want to have less liquid, and you're going to put the ladle on the side of the soup and strain out the liquid to have more solids in the soup and less liquid, will be forbidden because you're straining. Okay, let's go to the next halacha. Halacha 18. Mashka kafe sheyesh b'tachtisei hakafe mamish hu apselis. You have coffee that has grounds on the bottom of the coffee. which that is undesired. So too other liquids that have in the bottom of the cup or the pitcher, dreg, or other undesired material. When you're pouring, whether it's the coffee or a different liquid, let's say you made a punch, you made fruit punch, and there's a lot of sediments on the bottom. I remember as a kid, I would drink Arizona. I don't drink it so much anymore, but the Arizona tea, and some of the flavors I remember having some sediments in the bottom of the can. So, regards to this halacha, drinking it on Shabbos, you'd have to be careful if you would pour that Arizona drink into a different cup, you have to be careful not to pour the entire thing out. Rather, remain a little of the drink with the sediments. The reason for this is because if you're going to take all the liquid out, and then there's going to be the problem of you're causing just the sediments to remain, and then you're causing that you're going to have now a mixture, a select mixture. When the water is covering when the liquid is covering the sediments, it's not recognizable that they're sediments. Although you know that they're sediments, it's not recognizable. And when it's not recognizable, it's not a problem of selecting. When you're taking cream out of milk that is becoming sour, you can only take the cream that you're going to eat now. And also, by this, you have to be careful that you shouldn't take all the cream out, but there should remain a little bit over the milk, on top of the milk. Okay, I think we'll stop here. Phyllis, you had a question? You want?
Yes, yes. My concern, and it's always bothered me a little bit, this is with the shlishi. For example, when you're making a cup of coffee, it's instant coffee, or let's say tea, and you get it into the shlishi, the third vessel, and that part's fine. But isn't there an inyan about dyeing the water?